Hi guys, thank you for clicking on this video. My name's Aisha and this is Aisha's Crime Tales. So today's story is really quite messed up and I'm sorry, but it is going to leave you with quite a lot of questions because nobody knows exactly what happened except this family, and this family are not talking. So today we are going to be talking about Ambreen Fatima Sheikh, who was a teacher from Pakistan. She came from quite a large family of 7 siblings. Her mother, unfortunately, is unwell, still back in Pakistan, and her father, unfortunately, passed away. She had been described by her friends as an intelligent and ambitious girl who was quite happy-go-lucky and would light up any room that she walked into. Ambreen spoke very little English when she moved from Pakistan to the UK in November 2014 when she was 29 years old. This was following an arranged marriage. She had married a 23-year-old man named Asghar Sheikh. Ambreen then moved into a 4-bedroom terrace house on Clara Street in Huddersfield with her new husband and her new husband's family. So living in this house was Asghar, who was 23, his mother, Shabnam, who was 45, his dad, Khalid, who was 47 years old, his sister, Shagufah, who was 21 years old, and their little brother, whose name I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing wrong, Shakalain, who was 16 years old. Shortly after Ambreen moved in with the Sikh family, they quickly started expressing their dissatisfaction with her and they began complaining about her chores and her housework, that basically she wasn't good enough. They even contemplated sending her back to Pakistan. A relative of the family said that they complained that she was smelly, that she didn't wash properly, and that she wouldn't cook or clean for her husband. Ambreen was kept completely isolated in this house to the point that the neighbours didn't even know that there was another person living there because they just never saw her. And being that she didn't really speak much English, even if she did see people, there was no way that she could actually have a conversation with them or, speak up about anything that was happening to her. Ambreen was completely alone. She had nobody. She went for months without talking to anybody, and it wasn't long before her family and friends back home, they began to worry. In July of 2015, a family member actually tried to contact Ambreen over the phone, but when she didn't get any response, that family member then contacted their daughter in Yorkshire and asked their daughter to go and check on her. This daughter then went to the Sikh house, knocked on the door. She had a friend with her, just, to be on the safe side. And Shabnam answered the door. She refused to let them see Ambreen. And then Asghar came out, shouting his mouth off, and he threatened to them if they ever came back. This was reported to the police, and the following day, the police went round to go and perform a welfare check on Ambreen. The police found that Ambreen showed no signs of distress or harm. But get this, when they actually went and spoke to Ambreen, they actually let Khalid, Asghar's dad, sit in on this conversation. Now, had they have done their job properly and spoken to Ambreen on her own, maybe the outcome of today's story might have been a little bit different. Because only a few weeks later, at 1:12 in the morning, on August the 1st, 2015, Shagufah rang an ambulance and she reported that Ambreen was unresponsive. Shagufah told the 999 operator that she had been checking Ambreen's sugar levels, which is quite odd and is kind of important a little bit later. When the paramedics arrived at 1:31 in the morning, they were then taken to Shagufah's bedroom, where Ambreen was led on Shagufah's bed, completely unresponsive. The paramedic asked her, well, if this is the case, then why are you only just calling now? What took so long, you know? And Shagaffer then changed her story and was like, oh no, actually it wasn't 12, it was 1 that she fell unresponsive. And then she also said that Ambreen had been in bed for the last 3 days because she had a really bad headache. In the weeks leading up to this, the couple were said to be having issues. They had had a fight, which had led to Ambreen sleeping in a separate room. There had also been another incident 3 weeks before Ambreen was rushed to the hospital. Once Ambreen arrived to the hospital, the gravity of her situation became clear. So straight off the bat, as soon as she went in there, she looked worn, she looked malnourished. She had chemical burns that were believed to be 5 to 7 days old on her ear, on her back, and on her buttocks. She also had marks on her toes that were consistent with a prolonged period of immobility. So she must have been sat still, like very still, for a very long time. When they got Ambreen in for a CT scan, they found that she had swelling on the brain, and then upon further investigation, they found that she had been given a diabetes medication that was prescribed to Shabnam, which lowered the blood sugar. This then caused Ambreen to have a hypoglycemic attack, and it caused a catastrophic brain injury. Initially, Ambreen was put onto life support while doctors did everything that they could to try and save her. And the police began searching their house, at which point they found soiled bedding and soiled clothing, which was inside a bin that had been covered by a tarpaulin in a really crappy attempt to try and hide any kind of evidence of anything. Now, like I said at the beginning, nobody knows exactly what happened, but quite a lot of experts who spoke in court, they have their opinions. Most experts believe that Ambreen was forced or tricked into taking this diabetes medication. This medication has been known as a 1 pill to children, and it would also only take 1, maybe 2 pills to actually take the life of an adult. It's believed that Ambreen actually collapsed and became unresponsive at least 2 days before the ambulance was called. She became incontinent, she started being sick, she was vomiting all over herself, and at some point it's believed that she had aspirated on her own vomit, which is what also contributed to the catastrophic brain injury. But even watching this, the family just decided they were going to clean her up and just stick her in another room, move her on, you know, not take her to a hospital, not, you know, do something about it. They just, oh, let's just clean her up and move her on, you know. It's just so twisted, so twisted. The family, they probably wouldn't have wanted to call an ambulance or call anybody because, you know, people would probably start asking questions. How did this happen? And obviously, as soon as Ambreen ended up in the hospital, that's exactly what happened. People started asking questions. The police instantly opened an investigation into what happened to Ambreen, and they were pretty sure they were about to be dealing with a murder charge. The police went to the home, they collected all the evidence that they possibly could. They then questioned all 5 family members, all of which said nothing, just let on to absolutely nothing. And this case went on for years. Like, not just a couple of years, years. The whole time this case was going on, Ambreen was in hospital in palliative care. When the decision was made to pull Ambreen's life support, everybody thought that she was going to die. But in an almost really cruel twist, when they did this, she began breathing on her own. But her brain injury is so severe that she is never expected to make a recovery. And she is going to be in a vegetative state, unaware of her surroundings, unaware of anything going on around her, for the rest of her life, which could still be decades. Asghar was charged with allowing a vulnerable adult to suffer physical harm, doing an act intending to pervert the course of justice, and conspiracy to pervert the course of justice. His parents, Khalid and Shabnam, they both received the same charge. Shagufta was charged with doing an act to intend to pervert the course of justice and conspiracy to pervert the course of justice. And the younger brother, Shakalain, was charged with allowing a vulnerable adult to suffer serious physical harm and conspiracy to pervert the course of justice. At this point, Asghar, Khalid and Shabnam were finally taken into custody and placed on remand. Shagufta and Shakalain remained living at the family home, but they were placed on some pretty strict bail conditions. The trial was held at Leeds Crown Court at the end of 2023, and not a single family member gave evidence. The trial heard how Ambreen had been fit and well right up until her admission to the hospital, that she had been abused by the family, having received multiple injuries, including chemical burns. And although they don't know who gave it to her, she was given the diabetes medication that sent her into a hypoglycemic attack. The evidence suggested that she had been given this medication in the days before, and that she had spent the following days just deteriorating and deteriorating and deteriorating. She was vomiting all over herself. She had lost control of her bowels, and like I said before, she had aspirated on her own vomit, meaning she was choking on her own sick. And rather than call an ambulance or try and get her help, they tried to cover it up. They just cleaned her up and moved her on. This was evident by the soiled bedding and the clothing that the police found during their search. They also found the story that Shagufta told to the paramedics to be a lie. The judge said, "You would have all been aware of her pain and distress. It's just not realistic to conclude that you did not all know of Ambreen's predicament and her desperate need for medical care. You also knew why she was in that condition. It is difficult to imagine a more serious injury short of death." On the 18th of December 2023, after 10 hours and 21 minutes of deliberation, the jury finally came back with their decision. The entire family were found guilty on all charges except the younger brother, Shakalain. I'm sorry, I know I'm saying that name wrong. But he was only found guilty of conspiracy to pervert the course of justice. Then finally, on February 14th, Valentine's Day 2014, the family were finally sentenced. Asghar, Khalid and Shabnam were all sentenced to 7 years and 9 months in prison. Shagufta, the sister, was sentenced to 18 months suspended for 2 years, and Shakalain was sentenced to 6 months suspended for 2 years. Now that means that if they get into any kind of trouble or they break any of their conditions or anything like this, that they will then have to go back and serve that sentence. Following the sentencing, Detective Chief Inspector Matthew Holdsworth said, "This has been an awful case in which a young, healthy woman has been robbed of her future by the very people she should have expected to protect her. While Ambreen still technically lives, it is tragically believed that she may never regain consciousness. I am grateful that justice has at least been delivered for Ambreen today, and those responsible for her suffering have been punished for the truly wicked offences they committed." Now, like I said, nobody knows exactly what happened to Ambreen because the family aren't talking, but personally, I think that she was given the medication, or at least something, quite a lot before they think that she was, because she had those sores on her feet, which indicated that she had been immobile for quite some time. So I think she was probably in a catatonic state for quite some time already. Maybe they hurt her beforehand. I don't know. Who knows? But I think that they gave her the medication. This is my opinion. I think they gave her that medication because they were trying to end her life and that it didn't work. And because it didn't work, nobody had the heart to actually physically end her life. So that's why they ended up just ringing an ambulance. This story is just so sad. It was described as not as a serious injury as death, but personally, I really think that her fate was much, much worse. And that's all for today's story. Thank you for watching this video. If you have a story that you would like to share or something that you would like me to talk about, you can contact me via my email, which I will leave linked in the description box down below. Otherwise, please don't forget to like this video and subscribe. It is a free and easy way that you can support my channel. And until next time, don't forget to be kind to everybody around you, because you never know what someone else might be going through, and a little bit of kindness and compassion can go a long way. Bye bye for now.